What is up, everybody? Just giving it a little bit more time to get some people to join. But how is everybody doing? Hope you're enjoying your holidays. Uh, my Twitch logo is not showing correctly. I just updated that. Huh. Question is why? Yeah. Let me see here. Quickly update that again. Channel. I don't know how do I do it? To channel. Oh, there it goes. I will be talking about just wanted to make sure that changed, but yes, we will be beginning lesson 2 shortly here. Just gonna get set up here. So, give it a minute and we'll get going at 1. If you wanna just quickly look over this, this is just based on the project I had assigned at the end of the last lesson, based on printing to the screen. So first here we have okay, yeah, so it's now it's 1. Alright, so the project I had assigned was basically to print something to the screen, wait for the user to press any key, and then bring on to the next. So it was supposed to say like, hi, my name is dot dot dot. The mention what your hobby was, and then say why you're learning C sharp C sharp. So just to show you what I have here, we'll go over it line for line. So first things first, I would like to show you the first line here. You're gonna see console.writeLine, and here I didn't place the read key between the responses, and you'll notice that all of it printed to the one line. So here it says, hi, my name is Antonio, I am learning C sharp programming, and you'll notice it says that all in one line. Here I separated it because I want you to see how it's actually supposed to look. So console.read key, and now I'm supposed to be pushing any key. I push the next button, and it says, hi, my name is Antonio. So what I could have written here was like press spacebar after each of them. So like here I could write press spacebar to continue. And then it would have prompted the user to press spacebar. So I'll show you that very quickly here. Actually, we'll separate that a bit more. Okay, so now that I've done that, we're going to control F5 again. That's the first line, and press spacebar to continue. See, it now says that. So now it's just waiting for me to press spacebar. Really, they don't have to push spacebar; they can push enter or anything. So here, I like to play video games. You'll notice here that there's a line separating that. What actually caused that to happen, and how you can do that in the future if you want a line separating, you can push /n, and that what that does essentially is that's going to give you a that's going to begin things on a new line instead of the line right after. If I push enter again, you're going to see that it says, I am learning C sharp to become a programmer. So line for line, how I did this was, again, I put console.read key between each each console.write line. So whenever it wrote something to the line, I push console.read key to separate it into a press any key response. Later, this will come into more that you can actually set this key for something, a key in particular if you wish to, or what have you. So, that was the assignment I assigned, I guess. And now that you've seen that, I'll be posting this video later, so if you'd like to check on how I did it, you can actually look at it. And again, from top to bottom. Alright, so now we're going to begin a new one, and we're going to begin to talk about variables. Let's see here. We're going to go, so as always, I'm trying to write notes. Yeah, didn't want all of that, but yeah, so. And again, as I mentioned, I like things to stay in my D drive, because nothing is more annoying than putting it in a drive that there's no more room. I am not sure why it keeps trying to autocorrect that. No, console app, what am I doing? Again, 1 second here. File, new, project. Yeah, so there we go. I know it's not liking it, but it's gonna have to like it, because I have things set a certain way. It's probably not liking the dash, so I'm going to make that a period. There it is, okay. That should work. Whatever, we'll just put it there. Okay. So here we have our new project. We're going to start discussing variables. So, just to start, think of variables as containers that you can put information and access access. You can also change them later. So, first instinct, we don't need this anymore. We can enter. First instinct would be to enter variable. So, if we were declaring a variable, we would think we would write a variable number 1. Now, generally well, as you can see, it's complaining that that's not correct. The variable actually needs to represent something. So the variable number 1 is equal to 10, for an example. Now, this is, right now it's complaining that the variable number 1 is not actually assigned to anything, so it's not going to be able to run the code. It's more of a warning rather than an error. So right now, you would think that this variable actually equals the number 10. It does not actually necessarily mean that the variable equals number 10. It means that the variable so it is a variable without a decimal place. So that's all it means. It doesn't necessarily mean 10. It just means that the variable is without a decimal place. So the problem with this, of course, is that right away you're assigning a variable, a number to a variable, and the answer is going to assume that it's going to predict an answer or give you an answer based on what you're providing it without a decimal place. Now, how do you declare a variable without actually declaring a number so that you can continuously use this variable through your code? Well, the answer to this is actually to declare an integer. Now, so if we equal, uh, so declaring a variable declaring a variable without giving it a value would be known as declaring an integer. So we can write int num 0 1. Now, again, it's complaining, and the reason why it's complaining is because at the end of every integer, you want at the end of every variable or any integer that you're declaring, you want to push semicolon in that portion. So, again, I'm gonna put notes because, as I mentioned earlier, I encourage everyone to do that. It is actually the best way to memorize, it's the best way to learn, and it's the best way to, if you need to come back to it in the future, or somebody else needs to look at your code, they know exactly what you're doing. So here I'm going to write the variable one moment. The variable is number 1. So essentially, first thing, just so you know what we're trying to do here, we're essentially going to create we're going to create uh, a calculator that only performs addition of two numbers. It's going to request the user to enter number 1. It's going to request the user to enter number 2, and it will add those two numbers together. So, just to go over a couple things very quickly, I want to talk about the different types of variables because there are different types of variables. So we have, sorry, here we are. Well, this is a long time ago. Okay. So right now we have a few different types of variables. The first type of variable is a float. Now, keep in mind, a float is a variable with a decimal place. A decimal place. Sorry, with a decimal place. Now, when declaring a float, so we can write the float. So we will call it decimal. We will call the sorry, not equals. We will call the float type variable, and the name of the variable will be decimal. Okay, actually, you know what? We'll call it DP for decimal place, and we're gonna say that is equal to 10.4. Why is that not working? Okay, yeah, sorry about that. You would call it float decimal place. So that answer could possibly give you, well, can give you a decimal place with one number. I'm going to comment this out because we're not going to need this quite now. We'll be going over some other stuff. So the next portion we'll be talking about is a note to self. I should number this stuff so that it doesn't look so disorganized. So, bool, a bool why is it doing that? So, a bool is a true or false statement. Again, a bool is the type of variable. The name of the variable will say bool t or f in this case is equal to true. So we want to with bool we want to set it up so it either equals true or false. So that later we can say if true do this, if false do this. So what we're declaring here is a true or false. So basically, obviously, if it's not true, it's going to be false. The next type of variable we have here is a string. And what a string is the most common one that you'll see. String represents sentences, um, multiple characters, or words. If you need to store one character, keep this in mind, you can use CHAR, standing for character. But string, a good example of how to use string, uh, would be string, and we'll call it set. So the name of the type of variable, sorry, the type of variable is the string. We're going to say sentence is the name of the variable. And we are going to say it equals to, and here's the sentence, hello world. And again, make sure you put the semicolon because it's going to complain otherwise. Again, it's just underlining it because yet the variable has not yet been used. These are just good notes to have. Again, you can also talk about it a little bit more in comments. Like, so what you can do is, yeah, backslash. So string, this is how I like to write it. String is the name of the variable type. Sentence is the variable. And lastly, variable is equal to hello world. Now, there is a way to comment on multiple lines. You'll notice that I keep doing that. I have no idea why. You can just do backslash star, which is above the 8. And at the end of it, so you'll notice here, can move this down. Don't need that. And again, you're going to do start backslash. And that's where it ended. It'll end. It'll start at the word string and end at the word world. Sorry. All right. So now that we've gone over those, as I mentioned, oh, I apologize. As I mentioned, the last one is character, and that looks something like this. Character, uh, Tony. Let's save that. And see, the character's name is Tony. Again, the type of variable is a char, and the name of the variable is Tony. Alright, so we'll start with our code. As I mentioned earlier, so what we're going to do is we're going to create an addition calculator that's just going to add two numbers together. So we'll start with the first thing. Please just separate this, just ignore the rest that's up there. So the best way to code is basically think about what you're going to do and break it down line for line. So what we want to do is we want to think about what we're doing. So what we're going to be doing is we need two numbers to start. We don't have to worry about the addition. We don't have to worry about any of that other stuff first. First thing being, we have to worry about the two integers that we have. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to declare two integers to represent each value. So we'll call it int, which as I mentioned earlier, it is declaring an int is a variable without determining what it's equal to. And again, we'll end that with a semicolon. And we need a second one, int num02, and we want to end that with a semicolon. So next, oops, sorry about that. Next, we want to ask the user to input their first number. So here, we ask the user to input their first number. Yay. Okay. Oh, wow, I can't type today. Well, so, like I told you guys earlier, console dot. So again, console's calling the again console. So again, console dot write line is what writes something to the line. But here's another one that will write. So console dot write line writes something to a separate line. So just say if I said input users input first number. If you put the number 6, it's going to put number 6 on a separate line. So if you want to input it on the same line, you write console dot write without the line. So now we're going to ask the user to input their number. Please first number to add. Now, essentially, what we want to, now that we've asked the user to input their number, after they've input their number, we want we want the console to read the user's input. Now, just to break this down to you, it's not going to be, usually the first instinct once I teach you this key, would be just to write console. Oh my goodness, console dot read line. Make sure you, by the way, make sure you capitalize everything exactly how they want it. Not doing so or spelling it, as you can see, is going to give you a bunch of errors. So what this does, console.read read line, it's going to go to what the user has inputted, read it, and output some sort of information based on what it's read. The problem with this is that we have not actually declared what number one or number two is equal to. So essentially, what is going to happen is it's going to throw an error to it. So we could, if we were to say something like number 01 is equal to console.read, because essentially the first number being integer, the first number that they're entering would represent number 01. So as you can see, it's throwing an error, and the reason being is that right now it is translating it as number 01. What we want is we want that number. We want the system to convert that integer to the number the user has entered. So what we would do instead of this is we would write number 01 equals convert to int. And now you're going to see all these options pop up, and the question becomes, which one do I use? So if you actually just hover it over it, it's going to tell you, it's going to give you a little bit of information. So the date, time, value, plus 18 overloads. Basically, what this refers to is how many decimal places. Um, Basically, like your just like the statement we were referring to earlier, which was the float. So again, convert to int. We're just gonna go with 32. That seems to be the most common one that is used. Now you'll notice that it's still throwing an error because we want to place brackets around this. So uh, hey, take number one, convert it to a number, and read it. Well, that was the other way around. Read the number, convert it, convert it to a, convert it to a number. So convert the integer to the number that the user has entered. So the next line, now we want to ask the user to input their second number. So input second number. So again, as you guessed it, console dot write console dot write, and again we want to say input I put second number. And again, it's complaining because I need a semicolon at the end. So again, this is going to prompt user to input second number as prompt. So it's going to prompt the user for the second number and place the number in the same line as the prompt that was asking them for the first place. The next thing we're going to do, like the first one, we want to convert second number into into the integer again. So what we're going to do is we're going to convert dot sorry to int 32, and then we're going to put console dot offset read line and our parentheses, and again we're going to close this. So now what we have here, it is converting the second number into the integer the user has requested and reading it as the number. The last portion here, it's to get the equation to equal. So far, if we were to run the code just to see what it does, wait a second, please enter first number to add, 8. Input a second number, 9, and as you notice it's putting on the same line, and press any key to continue. See, it hasn't yet solved the equation because we haven't yet set the equation to solve that answer. So, based on that, the last thing we want to do is display the answer. And how do we do that? Again, we use our old friend console.writeLine. So what that's going to do again is going to put the result on a separate line and put what we have requested on a separate line from whatever was on the last line. So how we would write this is, just keep in mind everything that is within the brackets is what the user sees, and everything that is not inside the I apologize, but everything that is in the quotation is what the user sees. Everything that is outside the quotations is for user-based information. So we can say the result is plus. Now, why I am writing it like this is because we want it to take number 1 and add it to number 2. Wrong symbol. Alright, so again, this is what the user is going to see. It's not going to show what number 1 plus number 2 is equal to. Why is there a plus here, you ask? It's because you're saying show the result is to the user plus number 1 and number 2. plus add number 1 and number 2 to get the result. Alright, so we're going to say 3, we'll say 4, and I have no idea why I did that. The result is not 34. Let's see here. Maybe I didn't need the plus sign. So we'll take this. Huh. That is crazy. Alright, that didn't go as well as I had hoped. So, just for the sake of this, let's see here. We got some figuring out to do. That's not fun. You know what, for the sake of this, let's just see what happens if I try something different here. I want to see something here, because technically it shouldn't be doing this, but we'll see, we'll figure out why. 1, 1, yeah, it's telling me it's doing something weird with the numbers. It shouldn't be doing that, because it's literally taking the numbers and putting it plus each other. Let's see here. Okay, for the sake of figuring this out, let's try multiplying it. So I'm gonna try something here very quickly. Save. F5. That's weird. So oddly enough, it knows multiplication, but it doesn't understand addition. So change this around and say input first number 2, multiply. I will figure this out by the next video, by the way. Right. With that being said, let's see here. Let's try this again and make sure that this works correctly. I have too much open here. Control F5, 3 and 3. Yeah, that seems to be working. It's weird that when I change it, yeah, you know what? You got no comment. That is weird. Okay, I will figure that out. Anyways, for your homework, for the next video, or when you have time, what you can try to do is, what I want you to do is, I want you to do the same thing. I want you to multiply two numbers together. The only difference, so I want it to request the user to enter one number, then the second number, and then I want it to multiply those numbers. The only difference I want it to do is I want it to say what the user has entered for number 1 and what the user has entered in for number 2, and then equals the result. So I don't want it to say number 1 plus number 2, or number 1 times number 2 equals, the result is 5. I want it to say 5 times 5 equals 25. Alright, well, good luck with that one. Have a great day, everybody. Do another video tomorrow.